Hey everyone. Um, Today I just figured I would make a video speaking about addiction. Addiction, you ask, like, why addiction? Well, I think many of us face an addiction battle in day to day life. Regardless or not, it is much more than just, drugs and alcohol and tobacco. Like, there's all types of addiction, and they don't only focus on three categories like a lot of people think, like, I don't got a drug addiction or whatever, so I don't got a problem. But it can range from anything from, a sex addiction to being addicted to pre-workout drinks or, your technology, your Facebook. It's a bunch of different categories. And with that being said, like, it's basically too much of anything can become an addiction. And I guess this video is more for the addictive personalities. That is something I've figured out about myself. Like, I've known I've been known to struggle with addiction throughout my life. I'm 23 years old now, and I've endured a lot and I've overcome a lot already. And that's why I'm here today speaking to you guys about my experience with addiction and how I've overcame, you know, quite a few phases of it, because it's not only addiction itself, it's a bunch of things piecing together causing addiction. So they say that, well, studies say that, people, their addiction all depends on the environment they grew up in, like, their family, what conditions they had to live in, and it all, starts from there, whether a person received love or affection or not. These are root causes of addiction. It is not in the genetic pool, it is in the environment, and that's the main thing. So I've been watching several seminars, just focusing on this subject, because it is this subject is very touchy to me, because especially it hits me close to the heart, like close to home, like, yeah. So of course I've gotten a, a severe, highly interest for it. Anyways, back to addiction. So I would just like today to speak out about myself and my experience with it, and here goes nothing. Well, a lot of it started when I was just a little girl. I could remember being really addicted to food. Um, I was given a lot of money and materials. Like when I was about 6 or 7, yes, I was given a lot of money. Like $20 for a 6-year-old is a lot of money, once a week or whatever. But yeah, so I received a lot of money, and a lot of things I asked for, I got. And a lot of people are probably starting to think, well, you should be grateful, you should be lucky that you were given these things. And there's a lot of kids who are less fortunate, and they say that. But before you start throwing that in there, here's another thing. I was given a lot of materials, I was given what I wanted, but it was to basically replace what I was lacking, what I wasn't given. And that was affection, that was love, that was nurturing. You know, as a child, when I was about 4 years old, my mother decided to leave. The relationship her and my father had, it wasn't good, and it was very harmful. And that, like, the last thing I remember was of seeing my parents together was that um, they're fighting, and my mom said she's gonna leave, and she left, and that's that. But anyways, back to addiction. I feel that part of it that I've recently actually learned is, I have this addictive personality due to my childhood. I guess it's just it's a coping method. It really is. Any type of addiction It is a coping method because it helps get your mind off of what it was focusing on previously. Like, it could be bothering you to an extent, and it's just so intense, you just don't want to feel it anymore. So you focus your attention on something else, and you give all your attention to that. And sometimes they could be good things like the gym or going for walks or something. But there are several addictions that are flaws, and they do not benefit us for the most part. Like me, I have had several addictions throughout my life. And the first one, like I said, was food and getting what I want. But there was what I was lacking, like I said. So I was addicted to food for a while till I was about 10. And then when I was 10 years old, I that was the first time I experienced pot. I tended to have friends like a couple years older than me, so they're like 12 or whatever. I tried pot for the first time, and it was it was a euphoric experience for me, especially for all that was going on in my life. It really did help me escape reality, because there were things going on that I just didn't like dealing with. I was still a child, but the environment was not ideal. Sure, I had what I wanted. I had a home, I had food, but the environment was not ideal. I can tell you that my childhood, it consisted of, mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. These are things that children are supposed to be protected from, but it doesn't always work out that way. And from studies, it shows that people who become severely addicted to stuff have endured a lot of childhood trauma. And some of them learn from it, like I have, and that's why I'm here speaking today, because I want my best to help people too who experienced whatever I've experienced or are going through it. But anyways, yeah, back to smoking pot. I became addicted to pot when I was 10 years old. And yeah, it was good. I smoked a lot of pot, whatever. Like it made me feel okay, and it made me feel happy and content with what was going on in my life. There's no denying it. And throughout high school, like it wasn't really negative for me because I still played sports. I still got good grades. I made the honor roll. When I was still expressing myself in a lot of ways. I really got addicted to writing. Well, I guess you could say addicted, but I really picked up the skill of writing, and everything that went through my mind, especially when I was baked, I just like sat there and wrote it out. Just wrote everything. Everything that came to my mind and anything, I wrote it on paper. And yes, it was a really good form of releasing. And that helped me in several ways. I went to schools, I did performances, and it I guess I was kind of being a youth leader. And it was a very good experience. It was something that, I had a passion for, but I had given up due to, my life changing paths. So I smoked a lot of weed till I quit when I was 16. And when I quit smoking pot, my life really, really changed because once again, my reality became way too much to handle. Like, I didn't like feeling, I didn't know how to deal with what I was going through. So then I became severely addicted to drugs, heavy drugs to say the least, and alcohol. And being so young, it's kind of appalling. Like, wow, like you're very young and you've already mentioned so much, but that's just a small fraction of it. Now I'll start my relationship with alcohol. I started drinking when I was about 13. I remember I tried alcohol. I didn't really care for it. It was just, people were drinking, and that's what my friends started to do. So, I'd have drinks and whatnot from time to time, but it wasn't out of control. I knew my limit and I would not get drunk. I would never allow myself to get drunk because I did once and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I was smoking a lot of pot. So back to alcohol. In high school, yeah, it became more of a big thing because there were parties all the time, and just high school. That's high school. That's not denying it in any way. Um, I drank from time to time, but it was nothing big. I still went to school. I still did my work, ninth grade, 10th grade. And then I remember in 10th grade, I went out once and we got a couple 40s and I blacked out and I got alcohol poisoning. It was probably one of the most frightening experiences. Yeah, it's on the top 10, I'd say, because the last thing I remember is drinking. And then the next day, I wake up in the hospital and I have like these tubes in my arms and inserted in me, and it freaked me out. I was like, wow, oh my God, and my arms hurt so bad, and like it looked, my arms were bruised up. And the nurses in them, they said that I was resisting and, all this stuff, and that if I was left outside any longer, it was winter time. Here in Canada, like winter isn't nothing to fuck with, especially in Saskatoon. But like I think it was like minus 30 some outside, and if I was outside for about 10 minutes longer, I could have died of hypothermia. But it did not, someone called the ambulance or whatever quickly enough. Thank God for them, and thank God that it wasn't someone who was a bad person, because I was like right in the middle of the hood. Anything could have happened to this young, 15-year-old girl. Um, yeah, so after that, I didn't want to drink for a long time. I quit. I quit for 6 months straight, and then you know uh, I quit smoking pot, and that's when it all changed. And why did I quit smoking pot? Well, it's just part of me, like whenever I was around my partner, yeah, I had a partner that was 15 years old or whatever, and whenever I would be around them, I did not like them. I did not like him, and I did not want to be with him. It was like, why am I feeling like this? This person's genuinely cool and whatnot. Like, why am I feeling all so not good inside? And so I was like, I'm gonna give this person a chance to see what it's really about, and I'm gonna quit smoking pot. So I quit smoking pot, and then my partner at the time, we started to drink and go out like every weekend, and then it started to progress and progress, and it starting to experiment with new things. So I had got a job because my mom, she told me, Whitney, if you don't want me to ask about your money, you get a job, and I will not question you about what you do with your money or anything. It's yours. You worked for it. So yeah, I had a job and I had money. Um, I was getting like 500-600 bucks every 2 weeks for a 15-year-old. Yeah, that was like, okay, that was cool. You had a lot of money, you could do what you want. Um, with that being said, when I quit smoking pot, I had money, and the cool thing to do was go party and drink. So I started going out and I started experimenting with new things, new drugs. And my boyfriend at the time, he started to drink a lot with his friends, and it just became a constant cycle of drinking. At first, it was good, and then things started getting like really bad and ugly, and like just my life started to become more and more messed up, and I honestly got stuck in a spiral from after when I was about 16, um, it got really, really bad. That's when it started. So when I was 16, I went out this one night and I wasn't that drunk, but I went out and something had happened. I guess you can say it was like, I don't know how to explain it, a form of rape while I was passed out, and it was the most horrifying experience that I've ever had to deal with again in my teenage life. And it really distraught me. It really brought back a lot of old memories that I was running from as a child, being, sexually abused. And I honestly thought, like, as a teenager, it was something I would never have to deal with again. And experiencing that, I did not want to feel it. I felt very disgusted, and so I started to drink a lot. And not to mention, the relationship I was in started to become very, very toxic. So it was a lot of things. And in my environment at home, my brothers like to party, so it all like came together and progressively got really bad. Um, so I became really addicted to alcohol for years on end. Like, that's all I wanted to do. I dropped out of school, but I still worked. But I dropped out of school, and all my money went to just drinking and partying, and that's all I did with my time. I like stopped everything I had going on for me. I stopped it completely because, like I said, I was sick of my reality and all that was going on. Um, so yeah, I continued to drink, and at one point, I got very addicted to ecstasy. I would buy like $300 worth, $400 worth every payday, and just pop a lot of ecstasy. And I started getting into cocaine, and I would get a lot of cocaine, and I was fucking 16. Yeah, I was young. It was a lifestyle that I got hooked on, and I got stuck in, and it was very, very, very hard to escape. So a few years later, I'm 18 years old and I'm still living a crazy life, drinking all the time, trying to be grown, like thinking that was a lot of fun because I always had people around. There was always people at my house, people always wanted to hang out and drink or do drugs. So it was a big, big social tool. And a lot of it helped me, be numb from what I really felt inside. I felt a nasty depression, and it was something very unbearable to deal with. So I drank, and it made me feel numb. Um, so when I was 18, a lot of stuff had happened. I've been beaten by family, by, my ex. He like fractured my face, and there was just a lot. But I was no saint either. I probably acted out in ways or said things I should have, but who knows? Who knows? But I'm not blaming no one. Anyways, in 2008, like, I tried to escape alcohol a lot of times because I knew it wasn't good for me. But each and every time I tried, I kind of failed a bit. Like, I really failed. And when I really wanted to get my life in order, it was 2010, and my brother, he saw my brother Tyson. He saw all that I was going through, and he's like, "Well, I'm moving to PA, and you can come live with me, and I'll help you. Like, you're my little sister. I see what you're going through, and I'm going to help you." So that was something I was like, okay, well, this is it. Maybe I should just move and get my life together. Well, about basically 2 weeks later, after he had told me that, it was a Saturday morning, and I just started my new job. It was training. I was going for training at my new job, uh, August 28th, 2010. Um, I was so I went to work, and on my way to work, I remember that morning, all I could hear over and over in my head was rest in peace. I couldn't figure out why. I didn't know why, but that's all I heard, like over and over. And I remember that day was just so beautiful. It was a very, very beautiful day. The sun was shining. It was just bright and warm, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful day. And that's all I could hear though in my head over and over was rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace. And then, I went to work and something just didn't feel right. I didn't know what it was. I really had no clue. So I was like, yeah, I gotta leave. I told my employer at the time that I had to leave. Like, you know, I just left. So I went to the library, Cosmo Library to be exact, just to go on a computer because some dumbass went and smashed my laptop a couple weeks prior. And yeah, when I log onto the computer, the first thing I check my Facebook. Suddenly I get a bunch of messages from people, you know, saying like, "Hey, yo, Whitney, what happened to your brother? Like, what's going on? Are you okay?" And blah blah blah. I'm like, "Yo, what? What are all these people messaging me this for? Like, what do they mean? What's going on with Tyson? Like, I was totally oblivious and nobody would tell me. So I finally called, Stacy, and then that's when my family was first notified that my brother committed suicide. Many people before my own family knew that my brother committed suicide, besides his own family. It was the worst news I've ever received in my life. And it really affected me. It broke me a lot. Um, so my my plan to get better failed. My hope was all crushed because the person who would, told me that they wanted to help me. But it made me realize a lot, and I do not blame him in any way. Um, so I stayed sober for about a month after my brother had passed away, and then I started drinking again. Um, the relationship I was in, it just turned to complete shit. Like, complete shit. It just wasn't good at all. A lot of fighting, a lot of bad stuff. It was such a toxic relationship. Um, and then, yeah, it ended. And I was just going through a lot. And I didn't know how to cope, especially with just losing my brother. And I was tired of feeling, so I just drank. I think the longest I went for was about 3 weeks straight. Like 3 weeks straight of getting hammered every day and night. It was it was a pretty crazy time. So I got really, really addicted to alcohol, um, to the point where I quit my job just to fucking start getting drunk. And that's what happened. And surprisingly, without having a job, I still managed to get drunk all the time. I guess it's from all the people I knew. Um, yeah, anyways, back to that. 2010, yes, I became severely addicted to alcohol because it was a form of coping and I didn't know what else to do. 2011, like I started working again, I had a job again, but I got drunk and it allowed me to drink because I didn't have to deal with people. I just cleaned rooms and I went to work hungover as fuck or still half cut, but nobody would ever know because you're alone. And that's what I did a lot of times. I would just go to work and I would, yeah, drink as much as I could. I drink about 6 days a week, a lot. And I honestly remember feeling like so lost. Like, so lost. I just didn't know what I was doing with my life, but I didn't know how to fix it or, what to do about it. I just knew I was lost, and I was searching for answers. Um, and then it just like it just came out of nowhere. Um, I can honestly say, the point where I wanted to search for help, I've tried rehabs several of times, but I never went. I never went because I think I'm too stubborn. I told myself if I want to, change my life, I got to do it myself. I got to do it myself. I can't, go to this facility and expect them to fix me. I have to do this myself. So it didn't necessarily work out like that, but I knew that's what I had in my mind. And in 2011, I met somebody. It was May 2011. I met somebody, and they were pretty cool. I don't know what it was about this person, but they made me want to become a better person and change my life. Like, I can honestly say that this person inspired me to take the steps and initiative to be where I am today. Of course, with a little bit of guidance because they had what I was interested in, but I never really knew where to start or where to go, and it just led on from there. This person is Sean Sparvey, who is now like, well, my boyfriend. Yeah, and I'm not saying like he's like without him, blah blah blah, or this and that, but I'm just saying this. He really helped me change my life and inspired me to become better. So when I met him, yes, I was still living pretty crazy for a while. I think about till 2012. 2012 of April, about March, or no, March 2012. You know, that's when I decided, like, I'm gonna work out and I'm gonna change my life. Because I really, I reached a breaking point. I felt this tremendous amount of shame and guilt for living the way I was living. You know, it finally like it made me realize like what am I doing? Why am I living my life this way? Um, and then it all changed. Um, I guess I was given some keys and inspired to work out and change myself and just try better myself. And it I don't know what it was um, fully, but I knew that in order for me to change, I had to take the initiative to take the steps and do something to help me out with it. But so I started working out and I started losing weight and I became addicted to weight loss pills because it was a stimulant and it really helped me have this extra push of motivation at the gym. But yeah, so I guess you could say I did pick up a really healthy lifestyle because I ended up losing a lot of weight from being severely overweight from all my drinking and partying. And I became healthier and healthier. And yeah, it was good. I started learning about myself. I started picking up all these books. And yes, The Secret. I don't know what it was about that book, but I guess it opened up my mind a bit. And yeah, from then on, I've decided to really commit my life to changing. And I guess part of that too was it was the promise that I made to my brother. My last words to his physical body, well, seeing his physical body, was I'm gonna change my life, and I did. You know, each and every one of us, we have all these difficulties go through, but to make it out of them is one of the most powerful feelings in the world. to know that you can survive so much, like, but you can make it out. But it's all up to you, and it's all in your psyche and how you deal with it. But anyways, back to getting healthy. I did become addicted to weight loss pills, and I lost a lot of weight. Yeah, that it's weight loss pills. Yes. Um, and that's that. But I did overcome my battle with alcohol, and that was truly my biggest battle. I'd say when I turned 21 years old, I just moved out on my own. I got my own house, and after my 21st birthday, I realized, like, I'm not gonna drink for a while. So I really, really, like, cut drinking out of my life pretty good. Like, I would drink maybe once every 3 or 4 months, which was pretty good considering. So that's what I did. And my road to recovery, it caught up to me a lot. Like, I had to get into grief counseling to just help me deal with all the emotions that were running through my head. I felt a lot of pain. I went through a depression for a while. It would come and go. It it sucked. It really did. I guess the feelings that I tried to suppress for so long, they're still present. They were still present, and I obviously did not have to deal with them because they came back, and I had to learn from them. So learning from the feelings I tried to escape was probably the biggest obstacle, because you spend your whole life running from them, and then having to deal with them is just something else. But I feel like pot has helped me a lot in the gym. I'm still active, and I still smoke pot. But yes, pot does help me. I can admit that with my depression that I did have, and now it just helps me. It helps my mind focus, because my mind goes from one place to another, to another, to another. It just constantly keeps going. But a part of my recovery process, yes, all the feelings that started to come up, it was quite frightening, and they still do come up time to time. That's why I'm making this video. Um, but I started learning about myself. I started reading a lot of books about everything that I had interest in. So, like, dreams, or the mental, the psyche, the emotions, spirituality, numerology, like everything. My mind, it really helped me. Learning about myself was the biggest step to recovery, because the more I learned about myself, the more I began to love myself. And speaking from an addict's point of view, when you're an addict, you do not love yourself. And you know for a fact that you do not love yourself. And a part of that is why you're an addict. So learning to love myself, it was very hard, especially coming from a childhood where I was never told I was loved. Um, I was told that I was worthless a lot and useless, or everything was all my fault. But I was never told I was loved, and I was never given affection. So to love myself was a very, very hard step. Um, and I think part of that to why I stuck it out with such a toxic relationship, because that was the first person to tell me they love me, and I thought they really meant it. Um, yeah, it's been a process of many things, and learning about myself and loving about myself was the key to lead me where I am today, to sit here and talk with you guys about it, to say that I can't say I'm completely sober of alcohol, but it does not have control of me, and it does not have a hold of my life. I can say no, and I can go for a long period of time without it. But my self-discovery really started when I started learning about myself mentally, emotionally, and I started learning a lot of my strengths. And now after learning all this stuff, I feel so amazed on how I feel like I can really do what I want, and I'm so capable of anything I really desire. It's like one of the greatest feelings in the world to know that you're capable of anything, especially because you overcame addiction. Some people do not overcome addiction, or they do not overcome childhood trauma. They get stuck in it, blaming it people for the rest of their lives. Um, but that's not it, and I will have to make